Hello, my name is Crystal Elinsky. I
Could you
was
go to the mic so we can hear you?
weeks ago, and
Right here.
so do the officers have weapons on them now? Yes. Is there anyone here with a weapon on them? I just want to know.
Yeah. Lots.
So it's awkward because it seems like even at public meetings that don't necessarily have much to do with the police, you never know where the police are and if they're going to have weapons. And if there's going to be situations where, like, I came here 2 weeks ago to say that I would like to come to public meetings, and I was sad that the police decided that it would be okay to watch it on public access TV. And you said, that's fine, you're working on it. I wanted to thank you. The last time I was here, I just want to thank you for your work. This is so traumatizing. I can't even think straight. I can't believe this continues to happen. I mean, I already showed this to Mike today, and he looked at me and said, so what? The front page of the Portland Observer, arrested at school. We're no better than any other city. And a friend of mine, Freedom Child, her name is, I know we're not supposed to mention names, I guess, of officers, but I'm going to say her case, and when Mayor Tom Potter said sorry to her in City Hall, I wish Charlie Hills would do that. Thank you. God, I'm so sorry to talk to you.
You want to have a seat?
I wanted to say so.
People die from the tasers. You don't know what kind of a medical condition they have. Why are you guys still using tasers on people? I don't understand why. What are you afraid of?
Okay, Mr. Davis?
My name is David Keith Davis with Multnomah County Cop Watch, and basically it seems like there's a lot of force that's always used against citizens, and then there's always an excuse to use it. And I don't buy this story about him being tasered multiple times and it all being an accident. And this type of stuff happens all the time. You have police running around assaulting journalists. There's so much corruption in the town, it's amazing. I mean,
Mr.
we have
Davis,
white
right now it's
supremacist,
time to comment on the
snitches
case.
and being hired by Sarah Westbrook over here that lit people on fire, and then they set up homeless people. And she's
Mr. Davis.
one of the heads of Join, which is a local poverty pimp organization. So we have overlapping agencies of total corruption where you have
Mr.
Sarah
Davis,
Westbrook here.
I'm gonna ask you
Then we
to
have Nazi cops and
limit your comments to the case at hand, or we'll consider you done.
like, there needs to be a lot more cleaning up on the police force than what's going on here. And it's pretty pathetic that you had to compel these officers to be here today because they were so scared of a little water supposedly. Well, you know, you use
Okay, your
chemical-
time's up, Mr.
use
Davis. We
chemical
need to
weapons
move
and
on
tasers on
and finish
everyone,
this
and-
case.
And we're not supposed to feel scared of
Mr.
you.
Davis, this is your first warning. Thank you. Okay, at this point, we're here rebuttals. We'll start with the appellant.
In my limited research, I was trying to determine where policy and warning.
Crystal,
are,
you okay?
And I could not find it. I would be very interested to know if there's such a thing as a warning order. The witnesses which you asked to be interviewed, one of them said that I was manhandled, the other one said I was all over the place.
All right.
And about the tasers, in my research, I found that essentially they were trying to replace the X26 by Taser International, which was an analog weapon. And this was primarily done for the ability to download this kind of information that we have access to now with the digital versions. There were two weapons which were tested, the X2 and the X26P. I found evidence that the city council appropriated $1.8 million for the purchase of X26Ps, not X2 weapons. The DA has immense influence over ordinary citizens' lives. I was arraigned in absentia the first time. It raises serious questions. When did you guys first learn in your dossiers that there was no complaint? I have a question for the chair.
That there was no complaint?
When was the dossier that you were given first include information that there was no complaint?
I think he's referring to the person that the first officer witnessed. So not like, so in our context, complaint is usually referred to you, and then you become an
Okay, I apologize.
That's okay.
Witness, citizen witness A was the alleged victim. When were you, Chair, made aware in the dossier that citizen witness A was in fact declining to press charges at the scene?
Well, it would have been when we received the documents, but I can't, off
Are
the
you-
top of my head, tell you what the date is of that.
This is the investigative file, so we learned from reading the investigation. That's all we got. Yeah.
I first learned of that information on April 13th. I double-checked with my attorneys. Criminal defense attorneys were never provided this information. There was no complaint. The person declined to press charges at the scene.
Okay.
How was I indicted on 7 counts 42 days later? I understand, but the lieutenant said I was upset. I was scared shitless. The guy was starting to unholster his weapon on me. They're not supposed to tase you when you're held to the ground. The video you saw. The same policy we were looking at earlier, 1051, and 2.3, no one ever attempted to handcuff you between taser rounds. 2.4, eliminating exposure to only 2 rounds. That was disregarded. I don't know how many I received, but that's discharged. Members at 3.2 will not use an ECW on a handcuffed or otherwise restrained subject. For example, a subject being held to the ground by multiple officers. I don't know what video you saw, but I saw it. 3.8, members will not intentionally aim an ECW at the head, face, or target sensitive areas. Now we're getting into some more serious stuff about supervisors. 4.1, 4.1, and 4.1.2, was the officer trained on that model X2 other than the 1 day? This weapon was only in testing. At 5.3, I never was transported to the hospital as the policy demands. 6.2, no pictures were taken of the marks as the policy states. 7.2.1, the supervisor, if there's any unintentional, negligent, or inadvertent discharges, is supposed to take supervisory responsibility and report the incident to training. Neither of the sergeants did that. The one person who did do that was, if you look at Witness Officer C's handwritten report, at the very bottom says 1X RSK MNMT, risk management, 1 copy to them, 1 copy to TRNG, 1 copy to training, 1 copy to the city attorney's office, and 1 copy to someone else. You can look on the document yourself. It's Witness Officer C's handwritten statement in the arrest documents from that day. Witness Officer C, recognized and took care of the situation in lieu of the supervisors who did not follow the law. Thank you again to Witness Officer C. The supervisor at 7.41 is the training manager, is responsible for the training and certification and recertification of the members in the use of the electronic control weapons. And the history of that document is that it was established originally in 2003. It was revised by Vogel and Reese, and then it was effective December of 2013, scheduled for review on December of 2014. I would recommend that you sustain, I'm asking that you challenge the findings, and I recommend that you sustain the report of excessive use of force. No, I'm not quite clear on this still, exonerated with the debriefing. I think it might be jumping ahead, someone's putting the cart in front of the horse, because this doesn't make sense to me that doesn't exist in code.
Thank you. Does the Bureau or IA have any rebuttal?
I don't think we have anything to add substantively. I think this version of Directive 1051 the appellant has been reading from is one that was adapted after this incident. The version of 1051 that you should have in your file is the relevant law, so that should be considering for this.
Chair, may I offer my version of this document I have dated? It's an executive order from Chief Priest with his signature on it. And, you know, again, we can play hide the ball all we want, but I've got a copy of this thing.